Adam Silver, right? Not just as a commissioner, but as the cop who's trying to take down teams that are tanking. Okay, so Adam Silver and the NBA, they plan on making anti-tanking rules changes for next season. So what are these concepts that could be implemented, right? What are these things that they were discussing? Well, we know exactly what they were. All right, so let's talk about it. So I'm going to run down the list of the things that were discussed in their January competition committee meeting. So here are some of the things that were discussed to curb the tanking in the NBA. First round picks can be protected only top 4 or top 14. The lottery odds freeze at the trade deadline or a later date. No longer allowing a team to pick top 4 in consecutive years and or after consecutive bottom 3 finishes. Teams can't pick top 4 the year after making a conference finals. Lottery odds allocated based on 2-year records. Lottery extended to include all play-in teams. And the last one, flatten odds for all lottery teams. Now, I will say, these are just concepts. These aren't the actual rules. Take it with a grain of salt. This is what, big corporations do to try to do something. They come up with a lot of concepts and there's a lot of ideas, right? Some of these may not be implemented, but maybe one, maybe two. But if it's seen as a good fit, we're gonna see in like the next 3, 4, 5 years to see if this is actually a good thing or it's actually helpful. But I really do want to give Adam Silver some praise here because he's actively trying to solve this. He's not just like, well, that's a sport.
Well, he
Tank is going to
has
tank
to
and wiping his
because the
hands.
NBA has lost some credibility over the last few seasons, and he should. That's what the fuck he gets paid for. You need to be doing everything you can to keep the league relevant. And if you're finally going to call out tanking, then you need to build incentives to not to tank. And I feel like all those rules should probably be seriously considered. If you're truly not tanking on purpose, then you will find a way to meet these requirements. You want a top 4 player? Well, then that means 2 years in a row you can't be doing shit. You can't be, I feel like those are good because what else can you do? Find a team, like what else can you do to provoke teams to be like, okay, no, we have to be more serious. If we are,
And the thing
Well,
is how you do it is you fuck up their draft pick. Teams covet first round picks. And is it because we're intentionally losing is gonna fuck that up for my basketball team's future as an owner? We're gonna try now, guys. We're gonna try.
yeah.
We're gonna try.
well, no, I think also Lewis. Just I don't know if you listened to the end of our episode last week. What we also discussed was these teams that have multiple top 5 picks and like back-to-back years. Where are those players now? Why haven't we seen growth from you? It comes down to development as well. So now your pressure, if you are, I do like the rule of you don't have back-to-back top 4 picks ever. I like that rule because I think it forces teams to focus on the development staff, focus on developing players. It forces them to kind of have more teams kind of recruit young talent, so it's not all in one spot. So you don't get a Thunder situation, but you allow teams to kind of you spread out your wealth in that regard of young talent and whatever it is. But it forces teams to develop players and develop them well, and the better teams that do that will win more. And if you're not doing that, you better figure it the fuck out because you're not going to get the young players anymore. So I do like that rule. It forces teams to make themselves get better and to get better scouting, get better development. I like that. It also, again, helps scouting as well because the later you're on in the draft, the more pressure you have on your scouts to be better and to find young talent and be maybe the unheard talent to work on the team. So I like that. I also think, too, I want to propose an idea that kind of Charles Barkley said, actually, so it was actually kind of funny it came from him. But I think it's a rule that really kind of gets to the neck of these owners. If you are in a losing position come the All-Star break, like you're in the bottom 5 in the league, you can't raise your ticket prices as an owner. I like that. I think that's a very fair rule. That's a very even out rule. Because now you're either owners are going to raise ticket prices before that happens, and no one's going to go to games, so you screw yourself and you show your corporate greed. Or you'll get fans in the stadium to kind of invest in this young team and to showcase it and to have these players kind of have something to play for, play in front of fans, and fans can now go to games more often and it be more affordable, so you get butts and seats, so you're not playing in half-empty arenas in April and March.
The NBA needs to implement all those ideas. The Adam Silver ideas and the Charles Barkley idea. Do it all. I think they need to revamp. They need to make themselves more competitive again, more interesting, more appealing. You know, they kind of did this to themselves over the last few years, so they need to dig out of a hole. I don't know why their ratings are dropping. Their ratings shouldn't drop. It's a live sporting event. Why is your ratings dropping? Why aren't people tuning in?
I think people are just bored of the same NBA.
Well, that's why, and I think for them to come up with these ideas, now it's showing in the profit. It's showing in the money. Your revenue is taking a hit. That's the only reason why people are forced to change, is if there's actually results of it somewhere. So for them to consider these, and they may not do what Charles Barkley said, but I think the ones that he had listed earlier, yeah, you need to do it. You need to do it. You need to save your fucking sport. You're about to become irrelevant. Well, in a few years you will be.
Look, the top four in North America has always been football, baseball, basketball, hockey, in that order. Hockey
But look,
slowly,
hockey's growing.
Hockey has maybe even overtaken that. Baseball, you're not overtaking. And soccer's about to hit a boon with the World Cup. I don't know.
Jim,
Basketball's in a very, very, very weird spot.
it's very 6-7 of basketball right now. They're like, what do we want to do? Right? Yeah.
He needs to call Roger Goodell and be like, how did you do it? How did you do it? What is it that you're doing that we need to do? You have any ideas? You need to call people. You need to call the NHL commissioner. Be like, how did you get your fucking league back in the spotlight? In spite of all the obstacles and odds of not being aired nationally as much as you should be. In spite not getting as much coverage or any coverage on ESPN. So how did you, he needs to figure it out. Figure it out. It's a great American sport. You don't want to see it dwindle down to just footnotes at the back of the sports section,
6-7. I love even if you have consecutive bottom 3 finishes, you're not picking top 4, buddy. So I don't know why the fuck you're still trying to lose. Your odds don't get better. You're actually not gonna get a top 4 pick. You're gonna get the 5th overall pick. So you just losing means nothing. So I think it will incentivize those teams oh shit, now we have to win. Because, okay, we get the 5th overall pick, but what if we don't? What if we get the odds where we get the 7th now? You know what I mean? So it can only lead to more winning, I feel like, for some of these teams. And if, the talent's not there, then the talent's not there, and then it's tough. You got to try to and you know what this is going to lead to? Teams trying to build a winner. Right? Some teams make horrible free agent signings, just pay anybody. Now I feel like teams are going to get more competitive in trying to sign some players who are actually key. And, maybe some players would want to jump ship a little bit to maybe other teams. I don't know. But we'll see what they do for next season. It's going to actually be a super big topic to talk about and discuss for next year for the NBA. So, gives us some content.